We've enjoyed this lady's work in Patriots Day most recently. Gone Baby Gone, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Born Supremacy, to go way back a little bit, hit the way back machine. Also in True Detective, for which a Golden Globe nomination was earned. Also now in The Path on Hulu. Season 2 finishes up next Wednesday, April 12th, available for streaming on Hulu. Good to see you, Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you.
You are most welcome. So already there have been some shots fired here in the studio, as they might say.
Yeah, big shots.
And interesting enough, I'm going to walk our viewers and listeners through this process.
Okay.
It's okay. It was all born out of your interest in after seeing Dustin Johnson withdraw from the Masters, ask how Zach Johnson is doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason why is what?
Well, he's from Iowa, and
Like you.
like me, and
Sure.
I tailgated once with him before an Iowa Hawkeyes game.
A football game.
Yeah, he and his wife. Yeah, so he was there, and I
Okay.
met him, and they're an amazing, lovely couple. And so, unfortunately, I heard the news about Dustin, and I was curious about how the other Johnson.
And I wanted Zach to do well because I chose him in our Masters pool that we have
You
here in the Rich
did?
Eisen. Yeah, he's 6 over par now, unfortunately.
Ouch, babe.
But it's just one round.
Yes.
At which point, Brockman, then you invited Michelle to.
Yeah, I invited if she wanted to join. It's not too late. I mean, I assume she hasn't really seen a leaderboard, so I
Right.
trust her to make
You're
honest
correct.
picks.
You're correct.
But in
Yeah.
terms of trust, the trust doesn't go both ways.
well,
though,
he's wearing
unfortunately.
a Boston Sox cap. So.
I honestly don't know what you're implying there. Like everyone from New England is a cheater, because that's what just
No.
general
Just
consensus.
don't go to the worst. Just don't go to the worst. Just understand that sometimes the Old English B is an offensive piece of letters.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm a Cubs fan, so.
Well, and by the way, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I mean, so is that, again, because you're from Iowa and then that's the way you became a Cubs fan?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we obviously don't have a pro team in Iowa, and my very first sporting event was, our taking a family vacation to Chicago, which is about a 4-hour drive. We got to go to Wrigley Field. And at
So
that
amazing.
time, so amazing.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful ball field, as everybody knows. They lost, not surprisingly. I can't remember who they played, but I remember that we were all very bummed out when we got in the car to go back to the hotel. But I was excited. I was playing Little League softball at the time, and I was playing second base. So I was a huge Ryan Sandberg
Wow,
fan.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Sandberg is as great as they come.
And he was easy on the ice for like a 14-year-old girl. So
who played the same position on the softball diamond.
Exactly.
And then, so I guess, is there any stories from your family, and the same ones that we're hearing from Cubs fans, that that longtime relatives were able to see something that they never thought they would see?
You know what? It's funny. My grandmother passed away a few years ago, and she was the biggest Cubs fan. I mean, she farmed the land, but she would always come in from chores to watch, the Cubs games in the afternoons, of course. And she passed on, but I think all of my cousins and my brothers and my dad and everybody commented, on Facebook or on social media, like, Grandma must have something to do with this. Like, she is smiling in heaven right now because she was the #1 Cub fan in our family.
We heard so many stories like that.
Yeah.
From Cubs fans, and there was one guy who drove from North Carolina to listen to Game 7 on the radio, graveside of his dad.
Yeah, wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
not
my
to get too deep
gosh.
on you, but that's,
But it was, these, Cubs fans have, they've been waiting generations, truly. I was a Cub fan since, a young girl. I grew up watching it with my brothers and my dad and my mom. And now finally I actually watched Game 7 with my 8-year-old daughter.
Oh, how neat is that?
Which was really, really fun and exciting to watch. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So does that mean her favorite player is Javi Baez? Or something like right now, because does she play the position? Does she play short?
She doesn't. She doesn't quite get it. She's got a little T-ball set that we
that's
play.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And Michelle Monaghan here on the Rich Eisen Show. So when you say that Grandma worked the land and was watching baseball, it does sound very Field of Dreams like right now in Iowa. Michelle, I got to be honest.
It's.
Would you hear ghosts coming out of the cornfield or something like that? Did that happen?
But Field of Dreams was filmed about an hour from where I grew up, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah. And it looks exactly like that where I grew up. We're fields of corn or beans, depending on the season.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, because you crop rotate, you know, to preserve the land, the soil.
Right.
And it's in all directions. So.
And you also had as we threw to break, an opinion on what we're just spitballing about because we're stupid people here about Kingpin and Tin Cup.
Yes.
You're a Kingpin person?
You know, listen, I like the game. I like the movie Tin Cup because I like golf.
Okay.
As well, but I mean, come on, Kingpin. I mean, it's
bigger and cracking.
It's so funny, and it's bowling, and I love to bowl.
Now, is this a Woody Harrelson thing too? Woody, you've worked with Woody.
You know, I've worked with Woody a few times now. He's such a tremendous actor, but I always forget. You know, it made me think. I'm like, God, Woody was in that film too. He's got such incredible range, and you look at like the career that he's had from Cheers. Right, and he's just gone through, you know, what's the one with Juliette Lewis, the crazy.
Oh, the Oliver Stone one.
Yeah, the Oliver Stone.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers. I mean, he's done it all. And
so you didn't have like this really particularly intense scene in True Detective and think of Munson from Kingpin and just suddenly get out of the scene.
No, I didn't. I actually forgot all about it.
Oh, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but what is it like receiving a script like True Detective? Because I had to watch episodes over and over and over again to understand it.
Yes,
okay?
well,
but I love that about it.
Yeah, well, it's a really good question because I remember reading the first 3 pages of that first episode and going, okay, well, wow, this is really something special here. The writing was so incredible. But it took me really to like the 3rd episode to really understand what it was about. And it's really such a slow burn of a show. And I think that's what people really enjoyed about it. I mean, you really were brought into this very unique kind of dark, haunting world.
Oh,
and the acting was so terrific, and the writing and the cinematography and
oh my gosh.
directing. It was just a slam dunk.
What's it like going home to children after shooting scenes like that, though, Michelle?
Well,
what is that like?
it's a little intense.
Put the mommy hat back
The
on.
mommy hat. You know, I was actually 5 months pregnant when I finished shooting that.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I was. I didn't tell anybody, of course, though.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and but my character aged.
Sure.
You see, so I started off, I think, playing, you know, maybe 30, and then I ended up, I think, finishing up around age 55. So I would leave and I would come back about 5 pounds, 6 pounds heavier each time.
Right.
And I think they just thought like I was becoming method. But the older I was getting, the bigger my ass was becoming. And I think they were pretty impressed.
Just leave it at you're a professional.
Yeah, exactly.
And just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Now, we've had Matthew McConaughey on this show in that chair, and he has talked that True Detective, he would do it again if it was put there in front of him.
Yes.
Would you?
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. It was such an extraordinary experience.
Well, there's talk about it, isn't it? That True Detective 3, I don't know if it would be from the same characters as
exactly.
True Detective
I don't
original.
know. I you know, when we signed on, we sort of all knew that it was understood to be one season.
Right.
But of course, you know, looking back, and you know, obviously Matthew feels the same way. It was such a wonderfully creative and profound work experience, that it's no doubt that any of us want to go back.
The Path on Hulu. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just dawned on me that your professionalism as an actor, thespian, was shown by the fact that you were exposed to the world of Boston sports through Patriots Day, and no doubt had some form of respect for it.
Yes.
And yet still look at Brockman's Boston Red Sox hat and have this sports spite within you. I'm very impressed by that. I got to be, because that must have been very intense shooting that film. Certainly,
it was incredibly humbling and powerful to shoot that film, and you know, you talk about Boston as a city, and it really feels like a small community. You really understand what Boston Strong means, and really, I'm so proud of the film and everyone that it represents. You know, really the survivors, the police officers, the first responders, everybody that came out that day, and truly the real heroes are the citizens of Boston. That we were able to celebrate them and actually have their story told and honored. And, you know, they're incredible people, and I think a real example to people around the world.
Yeah, but still, when it comes to being a Cubs fan, Boston sucks.
I'm a diehard. Chris.
I love that. That's great. Now, with The Path, you seem to be continuing to take some stuff that, some work that's some really dark material. This is obviously one of them. Aaron Paul plays your husband, who in the two of you are part of Meyerism, which is a very controversial faith following.
Yes.
You're deep in it. He starts second guessing it, and then we're now here at the end of season 2. It seems like you're
Yes.
choosing some interesting material on that front
Yeah,
too.
it's for me, this was an exciting project to be a part of because again, it was the first project that came to me post True Detective that really felt like a whole new world that hadn't been explored before. And I think the idea of faith or fringe movements and religion is a kind of a very universal theme, and I think people have a real fascination with what happens behind closed doors. And my particular character grew up in this movement. It's the only thing she's ever known, and I consider her essentially the matriarch of this movement. And she's very convicted. She's very dogmatic, as you can see, and she's willing to do anything to protect and to preserve this movement, and even to a fault, sometimes sort of pushing her family aside. And so I really liked the idea of exploring this woman and to really just see, kind of how I could push this person and really get inside one's head and really understand why someone could do that.
Well, we're big fans of yours, and just to show off my professionalism, I'm a big Michigan Wolverine. Your Hawkeyes totally ruined the Michigan season in many ways, and yet I thought we got along very well.
Yes.
If you don't mind me saying.
That's right. We did. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
We needed a big game after the Rose Bowl.
From a couple of years, yeah.
It was just that was.
Did you go to that?
I did, and I left it. I left it at halftime. I mean, it was just.
It was kind of over by then. I know.
It was.
But Michigan always loses up in Iowa. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. I mean, it's a really tight quarter stadium, and certainly when we give the good folks there in Iowa the full day to prepare for the night game.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't do you any favors, right?
No, it's loud and lubricated.
Yeah,
that crowd.
exactly.
At Real Monaghan on Twitter. The Path, again, streaming on Hulu right now. Season 2 finale available next Wednesday. Great to see you. Please come anytime.
Thank you. I will.
Love it.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.